It's cool. I just went live, and at the same time, there was a pop up that that like just came like right at the same time. There, I'm like, hold on, multiple things happening at once. Thank you, Facebook, for that. All right, let's play this here. I'm actually feeling like just really like in the mood. I'm jamming right now. I just got done watching a video on YouTube that was called Larnell Lewis hears Enter Sandman for the first time, and I watched that and it caught my attention because I had watched Larnell listen to another song. This is on the channel called Drumeo, and he would listen to a song and then shortly afterwards come out and just play it. And I was like, that was just wild. And so they came and he said he's gonna play Enter Sandman. I'm like, all right, like like it said for the first time, and I'm looking at him, and he's at least 30 years old, like that I will say, and I'm like his first time, and I thought to myself, I'm like, well, like I didn't hear that song until I was 18, and I know how most people like in my circles had assumed that of course you know the song. I'm like, no, I legitimately have never heard it. So uh, I was watching him go through his process. He talks about it in real time. Like you hear him listening to the song in real time, and like to the people who chose it, I'm like, man, it's not a quick song. It has all these different variations to it, and like this is the song we want you to play and see how you bring to life. Um, I'm recognizing that this might have been the first time that I've like actually like consciously listened to the end of it. It might have been playing in the background, but I don't think I've ever like really gotten to the end of it. So I'm watching this video, and I left the link here so you can watch it here. I was learning the drums for a little bit. I'm not learning it anymore, and that's when I found this here, and I wanted to see like, all right, how's he gonna like do this? He's gonna hear this song, and then he's gonna go and he's gonna play it. That's on this platform. That's kind of like how he's been introduced. Like that's the role that he plays. So I'm listening, and I'm watching the video, and I'm just watching the way that he's choosing to that he's analyzing it, that he's bringing this to life for him, and I just as he's going around and he's talking about it from like the drumming perspective. He's like, oh, there's a shot there, there's a hi hat here, oh, an open hi hat, ooh, didn't see that coming here. Okay, back to the main theme. Like, yeah, he's just talking out loud about his experience and thinking about it from the standpoint of drumming. But I just recognized like myself in his process. I recognized like the thought process that's going on there. And I watched the entire video. I'm like, all right, how does he do it? And he's talking out what he's doing, and then afterwards you just see him actually perform it. And it just it energized me. It energized me enough that I wanted to come out here and share something with you all, because the feeling that I got was really familiar. I was watching him do it, and I was like, oh yeah, like he in my mind I'm like, oh, he thinks like how I think. He thinks like how I think. He's listening to this music and he's figuring it out. He's figuring out this music in real time, and then it's just be able to go and say, oh, okay, great. So something like this, and then he plays it. Now, was his rendition beat perfect or like every single thing there? He himself said he missed something, and beyond that, like I don't know the song that well to tell you whether or not it was like how accurate it was. But when he played it, it felt like it was true to form. It felt like it respected what was looking to be done, and like the cues, the lead-ins, the transitions, all that stuff felt more or less like I'm like, okay, yeah, I believe it. Like I can listen to this and like if I believe it. And that feeling of I believe it brought up something else with me. It's like, oh, I understand the process of analyzing different systems like the first time you get into it, but then this other side of like, and then being able to perform it almost immediately in a way that it's at least believable to someone. That really like, came through to me. That what did I mean by that? It came through to me. That really my thoughts were like, oh, I do this, but I do this like in culture. I do this in groups. Like this is when I talk about being a recovering people pleaser, it's this. My ability to walk into a room and quickly analyze like who the major players are, what the major areas to hit are, where the rests are, as in topics to avoid, the the crescendos, like what will rile up a group of people, or the decrescendos, what will totally disengage them. The areas where, what I would say, like the volume of the room, like is this a heated conversation? These people who like, or is it something where you actually take a more subdued stance in it? What's the tempo of the room? Are we talking really quickly? Is this a place where I need to be like, in my mind, I think Consulting and Gilmore Girls. I usually think about the two of them together. It's just like everyone knows exactly what they want to say, and it's just like like so many words per minute. Not like it's just that element of just like being really, so much information can come at you all at once, right? Or is this like in my coaching environments where there's a lot more space and we're taking more time, and we're listening to each other deeply and from a different perspective. So I thought it'd be fun to come out here and not just talk about that video, which really excites me. Obviously, you can see there's energy that's playing out from it, but also use this as an opportunity to analyze the system of how I analyze systems. And I get that that's meta. I get that that's a meta thing. It's like, oh, I'm analyzing the system of how he analyzes systems. And if you understand how my brain works, you'll get that like meta is one of the places that I live in a lot of the time. It's not just what is happening, but why it's happening. What caused it to happen? What are in the playing the game of the meta game, I'm able to understand what are the various like I would say leverage points. How can you change a system? How can you change and how can you influence a system? And right now I'm in a place right now in my journey where I'm realizing just how influential I am. I'm not an influencer. I'm an influential leader, and I walk into areas and things change. And I'm really trying to figure out, what do I do with this and how do I do it intentionally? And so that's part of what this video is here. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to figure out my own thought leadership here, to figure out what it is that happens inside of me that allows me to analyze these rooms so quickly. And then there's another part here that I have to talk about because I'm a recovering people pleaser here. There's the element of being able to perform it directly afterwards. I call that chameleon. In a culture setting, it's about, oh, this is how to work it in this room. This is how to be accepted in this room. This is what's acceptable in this room. This is like, let me put on my chameleon for it. And it's fun because I can I can also see what's missing from the room as well, because I'm able to understand the system. I'm like, oh, okay, here goes how I can be in this room here while still coming off as though I'm like everyone else. And so the thought for me here is that I will take this as an opportunity to analyze the system of analyzing systems in my brain, and share that with you in real time. And the thing here is that I'm dedicated to doing this in a true masterclass standpoint here. I'm reading what I wrote, what I decided to call it here, but I want to bring you in on a masterclass. And the masterclass here is Niiamah's perfect system to analyze in any environment or culture to blend in like a chameleon. Niiamah's perfect system to analyze in any environment or culture to blend in like a chameleon. Get your popcorn ready, get your 3D shades ready, get your pen and your paper ready. You're gonna want to pin this or save this to watch later, or wherever it is that you do here, so you don't miss this here, because I am really I'm not holding anything back. I'm holding nothing back. All the secrets, I'm playing a little bit here. I'm just thinking about all like the marketing ways that I would say it, like just you wait, So let's play this game here. What I'm going to do, the way I'm going to play this here is that I'm coming in without, similar to Larnell. Like, I just watched that video and then now I'm out here sharing. I didn't write anything down. I just hit live and we're just gonna do the analysis here. So let's start off here. The first thing here, and I saw this written in on the YouTube, and I thought it was really it was a great phrase. The first stage is active listening, right? So we came in here and he was not just hearing the song, but he was listening to it from a very specific standpoint here. What made me so excited was, my interpretation of what he did was that he was looking for various, he was finding different anchor points, different anchor points, and it almost felt as though like he would try and like see what is this anchor point, but based on that, what is the context and what is the environment in which this anchor point lives. So from the very beginning, he's like, okay, what's the time signature? How often do like what's the overall feel? Okay, every four beats, like that's a measure. Okay, every four measures, we have this other like we have a theme that just a thematic area. We can move on every four measures, so on and so forth. So it was really cool just seeing him just like come in there without even getting into any of what's happening specifically. He's just like, what world do we live in here? You know, what's the general context of this world, right? So I saw him start off doing that. I recognize that as something that I do, and if you really want to be able to analyze any culture and blend in like a chameleon, I'm going to recommend that as well. As soon as you walk into a room, start sizing up the room, not for details, but for the big overarching flow of it all, right? Where like how is it a flat room? Is it hierarchical? Is this a place where people are generally friends with one another, or are they all kind of deferring to other people around this place? Is it a laid back place, or is it a place where people button up, right? And once you have that general flow and you understand, okay, this is the way that things work a bit here, then you move on a little bit further. And what I saw him do, well, what I interpreted of what I saw him do was that he had these various anchor points along the way, and he was like, okay, it goes back to the main theme, or okay, yep, that's the interlude there. And what was fun for me as he was saying this was that it almost felt like this is gonna bring up my actuary days. When I was an actuary, I had to take professional exams in order to get credentialed. So I know a lot about getting credentialed and taking exams and such, and having like a piece of paper that says you can do the work. I know it. I don't talk about it often, but it's all because it was my past experience. But I know what it takes to like have to go through the credentialing process. And the actuarial path is one where it's really rooted in risk, and they put a financial dollar to risk. And you'll see a lot of them in insurance, and I myself was working in pensions, so I did a lot of like disclosure statements and helping organizations calculate their pension liabilities, which are one of the largest liabilities on an organization's balance sheets, especially at the end of the year. So the element of this that comes to play when I think about this is that while I was taking those exams, I had to study. The exams were like 2 or 3 hours long. They were all math based that I was taking, and we got to. I recognized that I was never really great at math, but I was really good at processes. I was very good at processes, and I could understand how the problem was supposed to be answered. And so if I go back and I look at my notebooks, I can still remember, like I had my own notation along the way, and I would see a problem, and I would have this various notation that was like a bracket and then a number and then the end bracket. And that bracket represented a stored number on my calculator. So I would go through the process, and I would know that at the very end, the end answer is almost always, store 4 plus store 5 divided by store 7, and I had to do all these different things to figure out what 4 and 5 and 7 were. But ultimately, that was the end of that. That was it. And all I was doing was just looking to slot things into the spaces that had already been designed. And when I heard him talking about the interlude, and he's like, "Oh, we're moving to the bridge. We're going to the main theme. We're going to the chorus. Oh, it's a short chorus." Like, as he was saying it out there, it was really cool for me because I'm like, "Oh, he has these different memory banks as to like, okay, this is the chorus. What is the chorus? Okay, great. What needs to be filled here? Oh, okay, this time around, the input of chorus is this. No problem. So that plays out in the standpoint of just being able to have various anchor points to go into. So while analyzing any culture, in order to blend in like a chameleon, I'm going to bring it back to that every once in a while. But while doing that, it's around being able to scan the room and first hit the major thematic elements and or anchor points that are important to you, right? So it's I'm trying right now to bring it out in real time. I'm thinking about the power dynamics. I'm just thinking about it's almost like it's like the jokes that people make in this space, the way that people respond to things, and just like uh, I'll pull out more of the little nuances as we go along because I do want to understand this process for myself. But I do know there's an element here of being like, oh, okay. For me, the way that this works is that it's similar to people in tech that are making a pitch and they're like, oh, we're the Uber of blah blah blah. It's like Krispy Kreme meets Uber meets Tesla. And it's like that element of like there's these memory banks that we're able to go in and say, okay, well, based on that, I see these different chunks here. I can see how the dynamics of this system works, right? Then what was really cool was watching him as he continued, and you would see like the look of like surprise in his eyes. He'd be like, well, there was actually a step before, like so he would actually like start mimicking it and doing it out in real, like pretending like he was playing. For me, as I was watching him do it, it looked like he had actually his own like almost like language as to like, okay, if I do this, it means something. It means I'm hitting like maybe a symbol in a certain way. But if I'm putting my hand down like this, it means that I'm playing like one of the toms or something. And so you could see him like communicating and playing this out with a language that he understood, and that language was able to be borrowed from one environment to the other. It wasn't something he was just making up on the spot. He's just like, okay, let me just speak the language of what this is. I'm interpreting that here as like we all carry our past experiences with us, and as we in the process of like analyzing and listening, part of the things that we do then is to start to pull out and draw from our own language, right? So we start to like enact it. And that was something that was really powerful for me, where it wasn't just like I have to fully understand it, and until I understand it, I can't do anything with it. He's like, all right, I'm gonna like shadow this here. I think this is what it is. Let me go out and kind of test and see if this is actually what's taking place. And if you really want to be a chameleon, I recommend not like committing straight for the color, but like to go and say like to just allow yourself to test in so you can calibrate along the way. So he had his anchor points in there. He knew the overall context. He was able to size it up quickly. He got his anchor points in major thematic areas, and then he started to play that out almost in real time, and just to kind of test and see like, is my understanding what I think it is? Let me use my own language here. It doesn't matter what the language was beforehand, right? It doesn't matter what other people are saying. I don't. That is irrelevant. My language is I'm using my hands. This means the toms or whatever it is that he does, so that he's translating what he's experiencing into his own language, and he's playing that out, shadowing it out in real time. Totally get that. What then became fun for me was when I was watching it. He then started listening for like you can see like oh, didn't expect that. Oh, they did. So what was going on through my mind there was that like I have this thing. It's like you can only be surprised if it goes outside of your expectations, right? So he was shadowing it, and he held his expectations in place, but he kept those expectations open enough to be able to understand what are the nuances, what are the things that don't really like that go against my expectations, that don't really fit in. And I will say this here. It's probably the number one reason that I'm able to chameleon so effectively in so many different groups. People don't ask the question, what is this person doing here? What did it take for this person to be here? And I love that from like, in one side, there's like a really empowering element of it where it's like, no one cares. They just want you in the room. Awesome. Like, that's great. That works really well in my favor. And the other side of it too is like, it's like, if you look around you, there's something different about this person. There's something slightly off in the coloring. There's something slightly different here, and yet he's still in the same room with you just as successfully. What did like the question that always comes to my mind is what did it take for this person to get here? What did it take for this person to get into the same room that I'm in, where I had to go through a certain path here, but someone else like when I hear his story, I'm like, or I hear her story, I'm like, wait, or I hear their story, I'm like, wait a minute, wait, that doesn't necessarily line up. How did you? Where did that? Generally, I have this sentence in my mind that runs, "You're not supposed to be here," or really, it's like, "I'm not supposed to be here." That's what I say. Uh, and I've been recently taking that out and playing that out in the world and talking to people and being like, oh, that's interesting. You're really curious because out of every single person in this room, you're like statistically, you're not supposed to be here, and yet you are, and you're shining, and everyone loves you, or you're creating the best product, or you're the one that has all the insights. Like those, that's when I talk about pioneers, mavericks, trailblazers, like outliers. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those people who like are shining in the place where like they weren't supposed to be thriving, right? And because again, because I understand and see and analyze systems and analyze the way that I analyze systems, I understand the systems that are around us, that in our institutions, in our workplaces, in our family lives, in our communities, all that stuff, all the different ways that we are the system itself is working against difference. It's why I lead the World Joy movement, so I can help people, so we can get back to difference, but not from a place of vilifying it, but actually celebrating it and valuing it. And so, in that period of time, that's I think that's what I think I'll call that. That's if you really want to be a chameleon, you need to really understand, like, what is different. You might have the major thematic elements that you can refer back to, but it's really important to understand the nuance. It's really important to say, oh, actually, in this, like, just keeping it with the music here, it's like, oh, leading into the bridge, there's a this, or oh, it's usually the hi hat, but this time it's a double chorus, or whatever it is, and letting that play out. Now, before I move forward to talk about some of the other things that happen, I think it's important to talk about the interplay of these two, the juxtaposition, the interplay of these two, the thematic elements. I'm hoping that in real time, I'm not using the word thematic to interchangeably. What I mean here are like those anchor points. From the anchor point perspective here, and then the nuance along the way. That is one of the things that allows a chameleon to be able to be successful in different environments. They're able to, for the most part, they're able to look exactly like what they're able to replicate more or less what the general population is doing. But they are also attuned to the micro things that this population does as well, and they're able to quickly shift into that as well. And so it's that interplay is really important. And what that allows is that it actually allows the chameleon's mind to relax, right? Because once they have that anchor point, now all they're doing is looking for differences. When is something not like the other area? When has it changed? You know, and if it hasn't changed, then we're good. Oh, wait, hold on, that was just slightly different. What was going on there? Oh, I got to learn that because someone's going to come and they're going to expect, like, you know, usually they're going to expect just a slight variation in the secret handshake. Got to get that into the code. All right. So, like, and I hope you're right now. If you have any questions, put it into the comments. Put it into anything. Just let me know. I really want to make sure that I'm really serving you with this master class here. And I'm really not holding anything back when it comes to, like, what did I call it again? When it comes to Niiamah's perfect system to analyze in any environment or culture to blend in like a chameleon. I don't want to leave you hanging at all. So make sure to leave a comment. If I don't get to it live, I'll get to it again afterwards, right? After all this here, you play it all through, and then you give yourself you analyze, you see where the different discrepancies are. You start to notice, like, okay, now we have repeats coming in. Okay, now I can chain different areas together. Okay, this is just like this other experience that happened beforehand. There's an element of stamina. I love watching this video because it's like, oh, the song just keeps going, and it's unrelenting and it's moving forward, right? And it's forward movement, and I love that there because I think that, like, to really be a great chameleon, you need to have the stamina. You need to be able, like, I was dedicated. I went by the name Nemo for 20 years. I was dedicated. That was stamina to be able to just, like, continuously blend in and to continuously Find different ways to not stick out. And if you are going to stick out in exactly the expected way, right? With that nuance and difference there. And then we go from shadow boxing, shadow performing to actually performing it. And what was really great in this video was that he's like, should I listen to it again? They're like, why don't you just take a pass at it? He's like, I will take a pass at it. Let's just do it. And it's really wonderful just watching him do it because he had all of the anchor points in there, and then he had the nuances in the right places. And you can tell where some things were like, okay, I have the lived experience of like, we have to crescendo into it, and the way that we do it is that we like slam, pop, 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 or okay, for this is the third chorus, and then the third chorus we change it up this way, and it's all just about making the slight adjustments rather than having to learn everything from scratch. It's more or less there's templates that are being applied, and we just need to know what template to use at the right time and when to actually make any small kind of adjustments. So that really sits for now in terms of what I can pull out in terms of really being a chameleon. Now, I say all this, and maybe I should have said this earlier here, but it's a bit of me here is, I'm not saying this in jest, it's a bit of tongue-in-cheekness in it, but I also think it's important for me to understand and to reflect it outwards. To reflect it outwards, it's useful for me to document it and understand like, okay, in this moment, this is the time where this is coming online for me. I recognize that in years' time from now, there might be paid courses that people go to really work through their process of understanding how they analyze different systems, or really get an understanding of like their specific way, their nuanced way of being a chameleon, right? Or not bringing out their power or diminishing who they are in order to fit into that culture and environment. And so I want to make sure that I'm calling this out here and stating this and sharing it with you in real time, because this is what's real. It's real for me here. And I was dedicated to really teaching this as a masterclass, because I know that I'll continue teaching this as a masterclass in the future, right? My whole journey is around belonging and to help other people belong to themselves so much that they can go out in the world and create their own masterpieces in the world, right? They can create their own impact and change in the world. And I like to bring this in here. I'll bring in one last thing before I wrap up this conversation. I'm a coach, right? I spend my time coaching. I'm a coach and I'm a leader. And one of the things that I'm known for is one of them is to bring energy to a room, to uplift. I'm known to uplift people. People come in, and I thought I was going to be about deeper, like depth, and really, depth is the word. And it turns out that like while I can bring depth to it, the impact of me bringing depth is uplifting people into seeing things from newer vantage points, or really getting back to being a high flyer, because I just get that. I know what it's like to soar and to elevate people into their next levels and beyond. And so what's interesting here is actually using this ability to analyze the system from a different perspective. See, one of the gifts of being a chameleon is two things. One, I can see when other people are hiding in plain sight. I'm like, hey, by the way, your spots are showing, and having lived this for decades, I can see it. There's also a lot of deeper work that I need to do to be able to. The seeing it wasn't the hard part. It was the saying it, talking it, saying it out loud. Being able to really to say the things that no one else would say, because my conditioning as a chameleon would be, oh, I can't talk about that. Like, clearly everyone must see it, but no one's saying it. In this space, it's not safe to say it. It's not safe to say it. Let's be real. We choose to, the chameleon changes their colors and such as a protective mechanism, right? It would be dangerous for me to actually articulate it in this moment. And so for a long time, I wasn't saying anything, right? And I want to call this out because now in knowing how to be a chameleon, I actually use that time and time again to get my clients just to help them get to new levels. Why? because I'm listening. I'm listening when they come in. I'm like, all right, let me get the overall feel of this person. Let me just understand what is the world that they live in, generally speaking. What's the context that they're entering into something? Okay, great. Then we go into anchor points. Okay, generally speaking, how does this person, as we're talking, how does this person see their world? What are the different themes that keep coming up? What are the positive themes? What are the themes that are holding them back? Right? And then I listen for the nuance, the things that are different. Wait a minute. When did like how did if I'm listening to this here, I'm hearing a positive theme and then we just slipped into something negative, or a negative theme and we're slipped into something positive. And I'm using negative, positive right now very, very loosely. There's so much. There's a lot more gray in this here. Just like, please let's not think that this is a binary system, because it certainly is not. But in talking to people, I'm listening to the world that they have created for themselves and listening to the culture in which they live in themselves. Because all of us have our own mental culture in addition to all the other stuff that's out there. This is why they call it mindset, but it's a mental culture. It's the rules that we think that we need to play by. It's the culture that we have assimilated to for ourselves, of ourselves. And my ability is to see that in the individual all the way up to the society and systemic nature. And so when I'm spending time with individuals, whether they're leaders, whether they're thought leaders, change makers, they're entrepreneurs, business leaders, like whatever they're doing, right? I'm able to see them and see the system that they operate off of. And I'm able to see the various nuances along the way, and the different like blips, the different ways where like what had seemed like one way of approaching things, they have this nuance. They have their exceptions. They have the times where things worked out far better than they thought, even though they're holding on to a story that everything that's worth having is needs to come from a place of hard work. And they're like, well, actually, these things that I got, I really cherish, and I didn't take much at all. I live for those things. I live for finding where the chameleon is. I'm looking for it on the branch. I'm looking for it on the tree, on the leaf. I'm saying like, okay, here, there you are. I see you. Can you just show me, like, can you just remove the camouflage and just be you right now in front of me? Yeah. Nope. Nope. Oh, by the way, your tail is still camouflaged. Yeah, let's get that. Okay, great. Now we can see each other. How can I help you live successfully in the world as a chameleon without having to put on the camouflage? That's probably the like I've never said it that way, but that is like the core of what I do in the world. Like that is what it's all about here. So I share this with you from the standpoint of no, like a couple of different reasons. I'm just going to check in with it. One, I think that there are some people out here who may not have ever heard the way that they think be articulated. Was this the best articulation? No, but it's been articulated. All right. And for any of you out there, just know that I see you and I get you. Two, the process of analyzing the system of analyzing the systems is uniquely important for me. It's not very easy for me to do this in regular situations. I'm a little bit more immersed and steeped in it, so I can't see. I can see the systems. This is how it works. You can typically see things for everyone else. You have the answer for them. You know what their problem is. You know what their solution is. You know what they need. But you rarely are able to see it for yourself, which is why we get coaches, which is why we have mentors, which is why we go to communities, so on and so forth, because and get masterminds and so forth, because we need someone else to shine a light on us, shine a mirror here. And I'm recognizing that and watching Larnell go out and do it through his process. That was my mirror. And I want to capture that. I don't want to lose that. I want to make sure that it comes to life right now. And then there's this other part here of if you're able to understand how you do it, it again gives you a chance of having agency. You can then choose if you do it. If you understand how you do it, you can then choose if you do it. I could like, it would not be hard for me at all to disappear into the ethos of the internet by showing up as every single other person out there. Why? Because I can see it. I went on the Clubhouse within 2 days and was able to look out and say like, oh, okay, This is how these people have gotten their following. This is what you do. These are the types of sessions that you need to hold. This is the cadence that you need to do it. Here goes the best seat in the house. Here goes the like all that. And within it wasn't even 2 days. It was within the first 4 or 5 hours. I was hosting rooms with people like talking on the platform just so I can build up that muscle. Again, shadow performing, so that I was ready to go and talk on larger stages in the way that like Clubhouse would support. What I love about all that though is because I've been able to see it this way, I also recognize when a system is still forming. Clubhouse I love because I'm like, hold on, if I decide to go on there and do my thing, then people will continue to, as the platform gets built, they'll build it around me. They'll build it around what I'm doing if I'm influential enough, if I'm out there actually creating enough value on that platform. And rather than just saying this is what everyone else is doing, I'm going to be one of the proponents that says most people are doing that. And this is another bit of real value, and to make and elevate that as well. So you'll see some fun things coming around it. But I'm actively thinking, how do I not play the Clubhouse game on Clubhouse? And I think about that in a lot of other areas. So when you're able to see yourself as see yourself in the chameleon skills, you're able to choose. It gives you some agency as to choose whether or not you want to use it, and when you're able to see it, you can choose how you choose to use it, right? And then the last thing that I'll do, and then I think I'll be good for today, in wrapping up this masterclass, is that in your ability to get really clear as to how your own chameleon and skills, actually more importantly, in your ability to be able to analyze and see a system or environment or culture for what it really is, like that is going to be your ability to be able to reach and influence someone else, to be able to sit across the table from someone and know what is important to them in their heart and in their soul. Their mind is the last thing. They always rationalize it in the mind. That's not where you want to go. If you're trying to change people's minds, you're like, it's not. That's why someone wants to debate me, I've let them know, hey, by the way, I don't do debates. You already win. I have no interest in it. Oh, you want to convince me? No need. No need for a convincing. If you want to convince, great, you win. I'm convinced. Can we move on to something more important? Because we need to get to the heart and soul, right? We need to go and change and influence that. So if you really want to be able to do that, it gives you insight into seeing them as a system and understanding all the different nuances around it, how they see their world, where are the little bits that are different. If you're leading a team and you're like frustrated because you can't get a certain result out there, are you taking the time to understand the system that this person lives in? Have you taken the time to see how did they even get in front of you? What did they need to do to be there? And how can we leverage those things that they already have, the anchor points of their own life, and then rather than changing the entire genre on them, right? What if we can let them live in the anchor points of their life and help them see the small little nuances that they need to bring to the table in order to be successful in your organization or on your team? I hear a lot of people talk about inclusion and diversity and all that, and I don't think that they really know how to get the return on investment on it, because and this comes from the standpoint of like when I look at different organizations, I look at the people within the organization, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their ability and physical ability here. A lot of times I'm seeing the same person, just in a different variation of it. And I ask myself, are they really, really open? Are they really ready for like diversity of thought and beyond, right? So all these things tie into each other. All of them tie in, which is it's the ability to see the system as it is and to understand the differences that are there, and then what you choose to do with those differences is everything. And it can be incredibly powerful. People have used differences to start world wars, and we can also use differences to bring us together closer than we've ever been before. You can choose to be a chameleon and put on your camouflage, or you can choose to be a chameleon and live your life as you. Both of them are open, and I want to make sure that I demonstrate, I model, I continue to find different ways to make it safe for you to be you out in the world and to bring that to the table, because without that actual diversity, we will not have any results that are different than what we have already. Plain and simple. You can look at it on the macro level of humanity, or you can bring it right down to your team or the book that you're writing or whatever it is out there. Like, if we're not willing to allow what is unique and different about us to come to the forefront, we will not be able to create any different results. So I invite you to get to know your own culture, the culture in your head, the one that you keep in, like, for yourself. Some call it mindset. To really get good at analyzing it so that you can help analyze it for other people. And then to step into your own power to just speak what no one else will to say what no one else will say, and to see what very few other people can see. You are here for a reason. I'm curious as to what brought you here, and I know that you wouldn't be in even watching this here if there wasn't something special about you. So I'm going to call that out and call that up for all of us here. And if you ever want a chance, I think this is a good time to end this. If you ever want a chance to come and play or experiment or be seen or heard in ways that like get past all your chameleonness here, come and join us. I have a tribe of people that I work with on a regular basis to really just support them in living life successfully without camouflage. Go to niiamah.com/tribe and just sign up and come join us as part of our tribe here. In signing up, realize that you are becoming a part of something larger than yourself. Even though the focus will be you, you're becoming a part of a movement of people who have decided that it's time to elevate humanity. And the way that they do it is by bringing that unique part of their life up into the forefront and centering it and creating more room for other people to also do the same, so we can truly see what collaboration and innovation and beyond is, co-creation is. That's what you're joining when you come in here, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that you are surrounded with other people who are playing the same game, that you're given different tools. And I've talked about protection and staying safe here. Here goes the thing. I want to make sure that you're able to keep yourself as safe as you need to be, but I also want to make sure that you have the ability to go out in a dangerous world while it's still dangerous and do your thing. Because one of the things that keeps the status quo in place is the fear that other people put into place. And if we can work through and see, like, we understand your system and we can navigate it and we can bring out and we see the different nuances and the areas of opportunity and exploitation and what we can do with that, the world, should we choose to show up, will be a fundamentally different place. And that's what I'm about. So I invite you to come and join us. I invite you to come and join the World Joy Movement by being your own trailblazer. Go to niiamah.com/tribe and we'll continue the game from there. All right. I hereby conclude my masterclass on Niiamah's perfect system to analyze in any environment or culture to blend in like a chameleon. Leave some comments here. Let me know what's on your mind. If I need to do something live and such, we'll probably have a session or two about this inside of the Trailblazer Tribe. I have a mastermind that I lead called the Courage Gym, where we specifically help people practice being courageous enough to say what needs to be said or to live out without actually blending themselves in. And if that is something for you, like if you're looking for something that's more of an immersive experience with me, go to niiamah.com/be-our-guest. I invite people to come and experience the Courage Gym. You can read about the Courage Gym, but the best thing to do is to come be in a place and practice showing up in the world without camouflage and seeing how you can take that up to the next level. We uplift, we elevate, and we co-create together. And I invite you to come be a part of that as well. All right, we have it here. Leave a comment. Let me know your greatest insight, and the game will continue. Until later on, here goes the thing. You got this, and we got you. Journey on. Hey, Niiamah here. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and then go ahead and leave one of your insights from today's video in the comments below. If you're looking to take this deeper, you can go and watch another video, or you can go to niiamah.com/tribe to get exclusive invitation to our tribe member only events. I'll see you soon.